A new cycle has begun. The collapse of kingdoms, a new world rising, politics colliding. The truth becoming a stranger. The mouth of a new era opening wider. A ceremony of innocence swallowed. Second coming, a prophecy, a warning. Prophecy, prophecy, the second coming, a prophecy, a warning. An image, not one of holiness. A shared imagination, a symbolic revelation. A vision of darkness, a creature born from the chaos. A collective consciousness, brutal and godless. Prophecy, prophecy, the second coming, a prophecy, a warning. Prophecy, prophecy, the second coming, a prophecy, a warning. 2,000 years, the end of an era, history moves, it bends. When morals and spirituality become extinct to humanity, salvation hides where many won't seek, as an uncontrollable darkness swallows the world whole. Prophecy, prophecy, the second coming, a prophecy, a warning. Prophecy, prophecy, the second coming, a prophecy, a warning. The future looks grim from here to end as darkness slithers in, up from your desert sand. A beast rises, a lion body ahead of a man, a soulless blank gaze, pitiless. An ancient power moving with purpose, showing no mercy, pushing itself into being. Cold, slow, and inevitable. Birds flying in confusion as the ghostly remnants remain as echoes of the old world are left in. And prophecy, prophecy, the second coming, a prophecy, a warning. Prophecy, prophecy, the second coming, a prophecy, a warning. Prophecy, a warning.
darkness I travel, my eyes upon a house disheveled. Walking the halls, all the pain I see, paranoia and anxiety. Usher was telling me, paranoia rising, the house is hearing, influencing spirits haunting, the house of Usher is falling. I can't how it can be, the house, the leaves it's possessing, books and songs to help calm, the words brought sounds from beyond, mental illness growing thin, something's under his skin, what is he hearing? Paranoia rising, the house is listening, influencing spirits haunting, the house of Usher is falling. Plans not fair, we left her there, a tomb cold, but for her it could not hold. Paranoia rising, the house is listening, influencing spirits haunting, the house of Usher is falling. Usher's ghost, the house's host, like the wind she flew in from the cradle, no one could save, soon the grave, the house of Usher would but cave, her body on mine, we both lost to insanity's time. Paranoia rising, the house is listening, influencing spirits haunting, the house of Usher is falling. A nervousness born from the earth, my madness came by storm. I heard heaven and hell, but how can I be mad? Across the table, I'll tell you the tale. I wanted for nothing from the old man, not even gold. I'll tell no lie, it was the old man's eye, a veiled pale blue eye, peering into it my blood ran cold. And my heart is where I hold a secret plan for this old man, a descent into madness. It cannot be, it was the old man, not me. A pounding, a beating, the heart kept screaming. now for madness knows nothing. I sit here, my mind clear, this tale I tell. Are these the sounds from hell? 7 days I crept planning, but never did the eye reveal itself till that night. A slip, a sound, awakened did he, but I could not flee. I felt his fear that we tried to comfort and steer his dread, for he lay back in his bed. In flash I jumped on him, dragging him down. Now no more sound, he lie there, dead on the ground. A descent into madness, it cannot be, it was the old man, not me. A pounding, a beating, the heart kept screaming. Both fear and glee swept over me. No one would ever find the body. Sometime now they came, sat chatting, but I could hear it, the heart beating. It grew louder and louder, I could no longer contain myself as I slid the chair. They still stayed there, not leaving, my anxiety rising. Could they not hear the beating heart coming from beyond the dark? No longer could I stand it, came my admittance. Here it is, the beating of his hideous heart. A descent into madness, it cannot be, it was the old man.
All right, folks. Welcome to Paranormal Roundtable. I'm Josh Turner. This is PRT. Join us in the real reality. Thank you for being patient. Oh, man, I am wiped. You want to say hi?
Fix this mic. All right. What's up, everybody? It's just gonna be me tonight. It's just gonna be boring old me. And and tonight's show is gonna blow you to sleep. No, it's gonna be a good one. It's gonna be cool. We got some really cool stuff lined up. I'm looking forward to hearing from it. And I'm gonna steal Tony's little Joker thing from my.
Where's yours at? He got you one.
Yeah, I was gonna say he got me one for Christmas. It's really cool. It's actually cooler than this one because he got me the Shredder from Ninja Turtles, which is like the only character from that franchise that I actually think is cool. But it's at home, so if you're listening, Tony, which I'm sure you're probably not paying attention, but sorry.
You don't care. So we were going to do a Patreon show tomorrow, but I am actually slated to be on Blondes and Booze tomorrow. Do you know what time that is? Because I don't. I honestly do not know what time that comes on.
I think they usually go live around 7 or 8, like around the same time we do.
Okay, let's find out.
Okay.
Let's make sure, because I don't want to. I got to tell everybody by the end of the show, hey, this is what I'm going to be doing. So tomorrow I will be on their show.
8 o'clock. Yep.
8 o'clock. So we'll be there 8 o'clock. Yeah. And as you guys know, I don't do many shows. I don't do other people's shows hardly at all.
And that's a good point. I think Mickey pointed out. Yeah, it's 8 p.m. Central, everyone. So whatever time zone you're in, it's 8 Central.
Yeah. So join us
I'm gonna
tomorrow.
post a link to it.
So the mail off should be going off tomorrow. It took Maddie like 2 hours to get them together today, and she still didn't get it done. We had a lot going on today. It was really busy, hectic. We had to go out to the ranch. I'm wiped already. I am literally just wiped right now. But I'll be ready. If you're wondering why I'm talking a little bit sullen, I'm in extreme pain right now because as I was walking up the stairs, I didn't bite it, but I almost did, and I think I hurt my leg, and I'm just trying to deal with the pain right now.
Yeah, it looked like it hurt.
It did. I'm hoping I didn't hurt anything permanently or anything like that. God willing, I didn't. I think God took care of me on this one. I don't even know what happened. I just went to step and I didn't trip. I don't know what happened. It was weird. But it could have something to do with what happened to me yesterday. I had a waking vision yesterday, which I think I've had that a few times in my life, but I mean, this one was like out of the blue. It had nothing to do with anything that I was doing or talking about, or I was just there with my wife and we were talking, and my knee has been causing me some problems, and I need some prayers for that. I please for my knees. It's just been really bothering me. And so she's so smart. She taught herself how to use an activator from
Like a chiropractor.
chiropractor, like from a friend of ours who's a chiropractor, told her to get one, and she was going to tell her how to do it. And then Nellie taught herself. So she can literally adjust me with she can't do all the other stuff, but she can do it with the activators. So thank you for that donation. And we definitely could use the help right now, folks. If you can find it in your heart to help out. We're not begging, of course. We always get accused of that by the ops because they hate us and make up lies. But we don't ever beg. Okay, if you feel it in your heart to help, then help.
I think that super chat says, "May God bless you with peace" in Latin.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe.
Yeah, red light therapy, night watcher, and I got your email. We're trying to figure out a way for you to do whatever. Here's what I'm going to suggest to not watcher. I'm going to say it out here on the shows that you're there. Just take a month off and then come back. Okay. And we won't hold it against you because I know you got circumstances, you got to deal with. So you know what I'm talking about. Just do what you got to do. And it's fine. Everybody's, got their situations. It is what it is. But to continue to enjoy the show, everybody who's got their name in green, you won't be disappointed because next week we will be getting caught up. We're going to try next week to do a Patreon show and a members only show so that we can get caught up. That's what we're trying to do because Thursday was going to be, and then we ended up not because I got to do Blondes and Booze. So what we're going to do this coming Saturday is we are going to do. So we're going to try and do you a solid here. We're going to do a Patreon show on Saturday. We're going to try and get one dropped. Friday, we're going to be finishing up with Sean. But if you're listening, we need to record so we can actually finish up with you. But we only have one more episode recorded. But he says there's a couple more he needs to do. That's fine. Those will be on Fridays. Those are free. Wednesdays still free. I was supposed to stop Wednesdays and turn those into members only live streams, which we still may do. But we're going to give it probably until the end of this month and see how it goes. If it looks like it's, super chats, people are helping, doing what they got to do, then we won't put it behind the paywall. But if we don't get the super chats on Wednesday and we don't get the numbers, we're just going to put it straight to paywall. Because we have to do what we got to do to keep the show going because we're taking so much time off from our jobs to do this. And that is the truth.
Oh yeah.
And so it hurt us pretty bad financially last month to do as much as we did. Well, actually since October, because we've had to take off so much time from work to do this. Because while we're sitting here, fortunately not tonight, but a lot of times when we're sitting here, we have to have someone else to watch our deal. We had to work last night, so we traded in last night for tonight.
Yeah,
that's why we didn't do the show last night. We worked. So,
and I try to be slick and quiet about it, but like usually in the middle of the show, I'm having to get up like 4, 5, 6 times to field calls for work, and I try not to interrupt. But I know it's distracting for you, but It is what it is.
Yeah, and I mean, we have to run a business while we're doing the show.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of these people, they don't have jobs outside of. I'm talking about our allies, good people.
Yeah.
You know, this is what they do.
Yeah.
Some of them have jobs, some of them don't, but most of them don't have jobs where they're running a business that runs at night.
Yeah, it's like they're on the clock while they're on the clock, then they clock out, and that's it. You know.
Yeah, so that's pretty much it. Somebody had said something about me in a group, and they're like, "Oh, everybody has a job." I'm like, "No, they don't. No, they don't." And not everybody runs a business while they're trying to do their show. I mean, I'm sorry, but that's just. Well, I'm not sorry. I'm not sorry. I have to make a living, and I have to live my life. And
you never
there's
apologize for success.
people that don't like me. Well, the only thing I can tell you is tough crap. Don't like me. What you do or don't like, and how little I care, could fill volumes of nothing. Just I could write a whole bunch of nothing about how I don't care. I do not give a crap, and I'm done responding to these people. You'll get responses, but it's not gonna be from me because I don't give a shit. There'll be the proper people to respond to you once I'm done with what I got to do. You know, that's it. And people that were responding to the comment section and saying that you die, you go to heaven or hell. I'm going to say this again. Sometimes that's all I got to say to that. You don't agree, you don't agree. It's not an automatic thing. The Bible, the people always that quote the Bible, whatever, I'm telling you, there's a lot of vagueness there. The Bible kind of says it in a roundabout way that it's not 100%, you know. And if the book of Enoch was in the Bible like it should be, then that would explain a lot more. You know, it will tell you a lot more about, hey, it's not necessarily 100% when you die, you go up or down, because according to Enoch, there are levels.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And hell is actually, according to the book of Enoch, hell is actually kind of in heaven.
Uh-huh.
It's really weird. I mean, like, you know, there's a lot of people that don't read it.
Like a world within a world.
They've never read it. That's why they say all this crap, and they spout off little pieces of stuff, and they take little, you know, pieces of the Bible and they latch onto it and they throw it out there. And I am not a Catholic or Orthodox, but I will say the Protestants have the least amount of information. And I was raised a Protestant for most of my life.
Because our Bible is the smallest.
I am not a Protestant, but I am not a Catholic or a non-denominational or a Orthodox. Everybody has a little piece of the puzzle, and I've said this before, and people don't like to hear it. They don't want to be wrong. They want to literally believe that what they were taught in Sunday school is 100% correct, and it's not.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't believe like the Catholics do.
Incomplete.
I don't believe that you have to go to a man and sit there and confess your sins to him. And that man has no authority to forgive you. None whatsoever. He can listen to your sins and go, okay. And saying Hail Mary and all that, that's not going to help you. I know I'm probably getting some people upset. They don't like hearing it. I had some Catholics recently say some things to me, and I'm like, you know what? Once again, your opinion means nothing to me. And Protestants, you have a very, very incomplete Bible. Simple as that. They get mad. They say, you're an apostate. You're a heretic. You're going to hell. That is not for you to judge. That is not for you to say. You can think that and, you know, whatever. But that's not true. I'm very comfortable with my path. Very comfortable. One of the things that it's just one simple thing that people could do, and we're waiting for people to get in here so we can talk about the encounters, whatever. But one of the simple things you can do, what is the most simplest thing you could do to learn about this whole subject?
Read.
R-E-E-E-E-D. Read. No, I'm joking. Just read, okay? Reading is fundamental. Remember they told us that when we were kids?
Mm-hmm.
But then they said, but don't read certain books because certain people burn certain books. And then when you go back and you look at the books they burned, you're like, oh, okay, now I know why they did it.
Oh, Makes sense now.
Oh, maybe
Nobody ever asked like what
books they were
burning.
Yeah.
And
Communist
books.
dribble written by certain people.
Yeah.
That's the thing. People don't like what I say, and that is fine. So, but once you start doing the research and you start to read, then maybe you will figure it out. Maybe there's something to it. You'll be passed over and you'll be like, oh, that's what he was talking about. Oh, look, a strawberry. I mean, there's all this information out there, and people are like, yeah, I'm just gonna make a sandwich. Those books just gonna sit there. I know people who order the books.
Mm-hmm.
They don't open them.
Yeah.
But you go to their house and literally the books are there. You'll be like, hey, can I borrow that book? No. Really? Because it's been there since 1998.
Yeah, one of these days.
How long have you had it? Since middle school. Oh, okay. Have you opened it? No. Can I look at it? No. It's for decoration.
It's like that old truck from the.
I want to look smart. That's why I have it.
It's like that old truck from the '60s that I'm gonna restore it one day.
Everybody, like, if you notice that, they always got a vehicle on blocks in their yard. Those are the same people that have books that they just want to look smart with. I'm gonna fix that truck. All it needs is an exasperator, an annihilator,
and a flux capacitor, and a few thingamajiggies, and a thingamabob,
and a big hubbub. And once those things come in, that thing will run as good as new.
And a little Mexican elbow grease.
That is a vintage General Lee. You're like, really? Because it looks like a truck. Once I'm done cutting the top off, getting a new fender, new hood, new doors, and taking off and then lowering this, and then that's what it's going to be. Wow. Well, you got a real project on your hands. Or you could just stop lying to yourself. I literally knew a guy that lived down the street from my friend James. I went by there like maybe 2 weeks ago. Right? It's actually the same neighborhood where my friend Jeff and me grew up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So there was a car that's still sitting there. It's an old Mustang. It's like a 67 Mustang. Well, the body of it anyway. Mm-hmm. And it's been since I was a kid. If you are one of those people that have that issue, just scrap it. Just stop with the BS. Stop lying to yourself. My uncle, I'm not going to say which one. I'm not going to say which one because I have a lot of uncles. I love them. But he had, he had one that was in his garage for a long time, and nothing ever was done with it. It was just there.
We call those dreamers.
And it was an Impala.
Mm-hmm.
Hispanic people in their Impalas, and it just sat there
like cowboys with their horses.
Probably still there to this day. It's probably still there. I mean, but it just nothing ever happened to it, with it or whatever. But so what we're talking about tonight, we're going to talk about. We have a few things we're going to get into. We have a lot of different stuff we could get into. See what we got here. Man. So I got contacted by a lady in Minnesota. She has several different encounters, but here's what I'm doing. I'm just going to pick out from these different people their encounters that I thought would make a good potluck. We haven't done one of these in a while.
Yeah.
And Patricia from Minnesota, she writes me. She says, "You're not going to believe what I saw in my garage." I said, "Try me." And then when she began to tell me what she saw in her garage, it's not like I haven't heard it before, but damn, it was creepy. It was creepy. Folks, I'm going to give you the disclaimer right now. If you're a scaredy person, you don't like the fear, if you're getting the fear, you need to leave. You need to go to Mexico with the fear.
You went in her garage one day and saw a Fiat. Terrifying. Tiny little place gold car. Fiat.
Then we had a winged humanoid sighting in Broken Bow.
Broken
right?
Bow, yeah.
It was Broken Bow.
Like
Broken Bow.
Southeast Oklahoma.
Yeah, because we looked it up. It's a small town, Southeast Oklahoma. Heard of it, but I didn't know exactly. I knew it was like is in north, right? North, south. It's.
Broken Bow?
I mean, south, right?
Yeah.
Southeast Oklahoma. Yeah.
Yeah. Northeast Texas, Southeast
No,
Oklahoma.
north. Yeah, because she used to live in Northeast Texas, so I was like, okay, and then she moved to Broken Bow. Really weird. So that one's going to be an interesting one because her sister had something very similar to that, and get this, they're twins, right? So her sister lives north of Tyler, Texas. Now you look it up on the map. Look it up on the map. See how close it is, and it's not like it's so weird. Hey, Wendy, how you doing? Wendy Guizdala, one of my favorite people. Really, really cool. Julie Coons, how you doing tonight? Randy, Nevia's Angel. Nevia's Angel. She don't take no crap. So her giving somebody the business over there on Abe's show because he just wouldn't stop. She's one of those people, man. She don't take a bunch of crap from people.
Yeah,
Lawrence Morgan Stanfield is here. Everybody's here.
All right, so north of Tyler, you got Lindale, you got Mineola, Mount Vernon, Mount Pleasant, Sulphur Springs, Winsboro. What is this highway? Highway 37 goes out of Tyler north up to Oklahoma.
How far is it to Broken Bow? Let's look it up.
Let's see, from Tyler, Broken Bow. It is, dang, didn't look that. 147 miles.
Yeah, 147. Not that far.
Yeah.
What's that highway there?
That is highway.
Is it 45?
259.
No, 45 goes up to Dallas. Never mind.
Like coming out of Tyler, you have to take a highway northeast.
So this woman would live just outside of Mineola because I met this person, her sister. I gave her a business card about our show back in what year was that? 2021, maybe? I think it was like 2021. I want to say 2021. And so I gave her sister, Kara, our business card at the conference, at the Bigfoot conference in Mineola. So with her, she is a twin, and her and her sister had several encounters together, which is weird. This is one though that I thought was really interesting. And her sister lives in Broken Bow, or outside of Broken Bow, Oklahoma, not far. Yeah, Kara and Patricia. So Patricia messaged me and says, "Hey, you met my sister at the conference in Mineola. She lives in another, I can't remember the name of it. It's another small town, whatever. They used to live in an area outside of Sulphur Springs. So I debated about just doing their encounters because they are twins and they had some weird stuff. So even after they were separated by 147 miles, well, actually about 160 because they live out in the country, both of them. They actually had some encounters with stuff that was happening outside of like, you know, the stuff that happened to them when they lived outside of Sulphur Springs. They lived in Tyler and Sulphur Springs at one time. 2 different times they had Bigfoot encounters. Something happened to them. So what we're going to do, I'm going to go into their encounters about the Bigfoot stuff, the weird, it gets weird with UFOs and Bigfoot. That it's just a weird, that I'm going to do a show about, and we're going to release that on the Patreon. So if you want to hear in depth about their encounters, about Kara and Patricia, they are twins. And like I said, I met Kara at the conference in Mineola. Gave her my business card. She never lost it. And thanks to a mutual friend who vouched for me and said, "Hey, he's an okay dude. You know, hit him up, whatever." So shout out to Ken Gerhard for always vouching for me, him and Lyle and David and everybody. That's really good people. Nick Redfern. I think that one, though, I owed Nick for that one because Nick was at the dinner and he said, yeah, he's a good guy. He's a bit weird, a bit odd, a bit sad, isn't he? He's odd. And I'm like, so are you. we're all a bit weird, huh? We're all a bit weird. That's why we're here. So, okay. People keep asking me about gold and silver, and I'm telling you, it's volatile right now. It's going to be up and down, but it's going to it's going to do this. It's going to keep going up. That's my opinion. I really think that that's going to happen because we're almost back up to 80 on silver. So keep your eyes on that. What was the other one we talked about we were going to do? Oh, and then we have Stefan's encounter in Brenham. I should probably talk about the vision I had. Maybe I shouldn't. I'm not. You know what? I'm going to do that on a Patreon where I'm surrounded by people that aren't going to clip it and turn it into a circus. So I'm gonna talk to you guys about what I saw. If you join the Patreon and you're on the Patreon episode that we're going to drop for Saturday, I'm going to talk about what happened to me in my vision. It was, I'll say I don't want to talk about it today. I'm just not, it's just not going to talk about it. And then we had a Bigfoot encounter with some friends of friends, I guess. They were shooting fireworks north of Waco, northwest of Waco. And Bigfoot didn't like it, apparently. So they believe that they had an encounter with a Bigfoot. And it did threw a trash can so hard into their wall that it broke some of the siding and then broke a window. What's crazy, though, is it didn't hit the window, but it broke the window because it was so powerful.
Just the impact on the wall. Jeez.
Holy crud. So Bigfoot doesn't like fireworks. Who would have thought, right?
He doesn't like anything.
Colorful. Bigfoot's like, Come on, Bigfoot. I thought you were Bigfoot.
He's not a grouch.
Apparently he's not big brave. He's just Bigfoot. and he's not like, I guess he's more like Frankenstein's monster. He just doesn't like it. He gets upset. He gets his panties in a bunch. He gets his Leviathan in a bunch. I remember when I was a kid, after the G.I. Joe or Transformer cartoons, they would always do that Viacom.
Yeah.
I always thought it
like a villain.
Yeah, it was like a cool voice.
Viacom.
They should do it now. Just go Leviathan. Yeah. We thought about making a Leviathan t-shirt, just like a sea dragon type creature with like a thong, on there,
This episode brought to you by Leviathan.
So what do we want to get started with? I want to start with this one because the woman in Minnesota that reached out to me, and we had the winged humanoid creature. And I'm sorry if I said her name was Patricia. The woman from Minnesota is not Patricia. Her name is Teresa. Sorry about that. I'm just looking at it. I'm going like, I am so stupid. She just messaged me. She's like, hey. My name's Teresa, all right? And your stupid show, this isn't it for me. All right, I belong to some knitting circles, and I'm joking, Teresa. I'm kidding, Teresa.
This isn't over.
She told me, though, she says, my life has been rather boring the last few years. I told her, though, I'll be honest, boring is better. Sometimes boring is better.
Some people would like for their lives to be
a
little bit boring.
Mm-hmm.
Boring is good for a time.
Sometimes boring is better. So Teresa, almost said it again. So Teresa, let's start with your encounter. We're going to get started. We get 292 people. It's just Wednesday. We might hit 400. Who knows? But she lived in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Now she lives in a suburb outside of Minneapolis. One of the things that I noticed when I looked on a map, there were 3 encounters there in that little area because I'm not going to say the name of the town just because she lives there and she has her husband has a small business there. Well, I might say her husband. That's not fair. It was her and her husband. They're semi-retired, and a lot of people know them. And she was like, I don't want people thinking I'm weird. And I'm like, well, you are.
A little
But
late.
you know, people don't want, but you don't want, people coming to your store and going, hey,
Yeah.
are you okay?
Aren't you the crazy lady who saw the whatchamacallit?
Yeah. Yeah. Don't you know? You're up there seeing weird things in Minnesota, huh? It's very weird.
They bring the kids in. Hey, come here. Look, it's the crazy lady, sweetheart. You seen her on TV? Humiliating her and stuff.
Well, I mean, when you have the Somali daycares, I guess,
Yeah.
when Tim Walz is your governor, it can't make it much worse.
Oh, yeah, the quality Leering Center. Do you see that? Like
quality Leering
Center. They couldn't even spell it right on the side.
Saquon's out there like, look at me. You're the crazy lady now.
Yeah.
So
I am the teacher now.
I was actually laughing with her about that. We were talking, and she's like, "Well, it's Minnesota," and I'm like, "Minnesota," and she's like, "And of course, Tim's in charge." Life and Times of Tim. Boy, he is the biggest weenie.
Yeah.
I have ever seen. I mean, there's been some weenie governors like Gavin Newsom. He's kind of like American Psycho.
Yeah.
Yeah. He just looks like America. He looks like, if you go and watch American Psycho, that is Gavin.
Yeah.
He's like Max Headroom meets, Psycho from the movie Psycho. That's him. If Max Headroom was like mother, that would be him right there for real. But then you have Tim Walz. He's over there like, golly gee, where are my glasses? I don't have my glasses. Right. We got to get my glasses and my shoes.
So I have them.
I believe that the Somali pirates that are running the Leering Center have done nothing wrong. They need to be activated. He's looking at that and he's like, vindicated. Oh my gosh, I didn't. And they're like, excuse me, sir. What do you mean activated? Are these terror cells? No, they are just regular cells. I mean, they're not cells. I mean, they belong in a cell. I belong in a cell. I don't know what you're talking about. And he runs off the stage. Yeah.
They have an activation phrase.
Yeah.
Mayonnaise. Olympic red. Attack.
And then the Leering Center, they come out with glowing red eyes. Yeah. Laser beams. Yeah. I'm going to say this. It is what it is. People are going to believe what they're going to believe. They're going to think what they're going to think. Right. So if you have something to tell me, just know that I'm a weird guy in myself. I'm a strange one. I'm not a mean guy. I'm not a bad guy, but I am weird. I can get into some weird stuff real quick. And it's not inappropriate. It's just weird. I mean, because I'll make you think. I'll make you think about some stuff. But so what happened? Teresa reaches out to me and she says, hey, I got a weird thing that happened to me. This is some weird stuff. It's been going on for quite some time. They've lived in the same house for 17 years, right? For 17 years. Okay, my bad. 7 years. I just said 17. My bad. 7 years. They've lived in the same house in Minnesota for 7 years. They have a business that they've been running for 17 years. They are pretty much retired from their jobs. Their children are grown. She's like, we moved in, we downsized, and our children took over our other house. And we moved further out into the suburbs, or from the suburbs further out. She says where they live now, since they've lived there have been some quote unquote issues. Now, I asked her about this. She says she kind of didn't want to talk about the issues when she first moved in. And I said, what happened? Were there like pentagrams drawn all over the walls and the floors? And she was like, yeah. And I was like, oh. Well, that'll create some problems. And so I said, are you serious? She goes, no, I'm not joking. She says, mostly in this one bathroom. She's like, there were claw marks and there was stuff all over the walls. It was obviously somebody had their dog in there. So she's like, but it looked like a very big, like menacing dog that did this. And I'm thinking, okay, so they had a hellhound in there,
Mm-hmm.
But they had a dog in there and it obviously did some damage. And she says it was bad. When we bought the house, we thought, yeah, we'll fix it up for, maybe 15 grand. No, she said they sunk $35,000 into that. And it ate up a bit like half of their savings. And I told her, I said, you're pretty well to be able to have that be half of your savings. You know how many people are living paycheck to paycheck with no retirement plan?
Mhm.
Like their retirement plan is hoping their kids do something with themselves.
Yeah.
For real, and then having mercy on them. And that's not a good plan. So I told her, I said, look, you're doing good. You had, at least you still have the rest of your retirement, you know. But she said that there was some really bad damage. And she's like, the first 2 months they were there, everything that could go wrong was going wrong. She said that they found a hidden room and they were looking at the square footage of the house. And it was supposed to be a very large house. I think she said it was like 3,400 square foot. But when they were doing the math, they were like, hey, I think we're missing a few hundred feet here. Her husband's brother, well, it'd be her husband's brother-in-law, which I guess technically would be her brother-in-law too. But he was the one that came over and he started knocking on the walls and he figured out that there was a hidden room. In that hidden room, they found three chairs that were all turned in a weird triangle. Now, here's the weird thing. And I told her this when I looked up the area where she lived. I found 3 stories of something demonic in the triangular pattern, close to where she lives on the edge of Minneapolis and these 2 other towns, without giving the location away. So I thought that was weird. I was like, that is definitely interesting. Because, you know, when somebody tells you, hey, I live in such and such a location, what do you know about this place? Then you go and you kind of figure it out. I mean, it's weird because the town that she lives in, I have heard some weird things. And I'm not saying it's Derry, you know, from like It.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, shout out to my friend Yvette. She is in this season of that.
Oh, yeah?
Yvette, Yvonne's
Mhm.
sister. They're twins. They were Olympic
I've
medalists
been
from
meaning to start
Germany.
watching that show.
She's actually in this. In the makeup and everything. Let me show you real quick here, and then we'll get back to it. I thought it was cool. I haven't seen that
That's
show.
awesome. I love seeing people make it.
But she's in that show. She's an actress. So I thought it was interesting that she had. There it is, right there. This is her getting her makeup done on it.
Oh,
and that's her. So she plays a character in the upcoming movie or show about Derry.
Welcome to Derry.
Yeah. So shout out to you, Vic. Good job. She's a good friend of mine.
Congratulations.
Her husband is a Mohawk native, and he's a big dude. He's like 6'5", and he has had Bigfoot activity. They live in Canada, all over his property. You know who they are.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, they are pretty cool people. But anyways, here's the thing. That town, I told her, I said, there are 2 other incidents that I got from that town. It's a small town. And I told her, I said, at some point, it's probably going to come up again on the show. Okay. But the town that this happened, it was, I want to say, like, it's not the first time that I've heard of something like this, but it was in that particular area. The other 2 things that happened there had nothing to do with this. It was UFO encounter and ghosts, but this was weird. I don't know if you want to classify this as ghosts. I don't know, demonic. But she said that she was down in her
basement,
garage, down the garage, doing some work, and they were trying to remodel it for her husband because her husband wanted to take his little office there and he wanted to turn it into an office. And they're doing a lot of selling stuff online now. So she thought, you know what would be a good place to do the shipping and the packing and all that. Her daughter and her daughter's husband have been coming and helping. So he gets along really good with his son-in-law. So they were in there and they were joking around, laughing. And his son-in-law had brought his friend over and they were helping him pack things to ship, these things that they ship. And they stopped talking for a moment because they heard a conversation. When they heard this conversation, on the other side of the garage is where the small room was that was found. Where these 3 chairs were, and inside the chairs, you could see that it had been scrubbed, but there was a pentagram with an actual goat head on it. She said that whoever did it, they were very artistic too. They did a very good rendering of it. It looked just like a goat. You know, she said it wasn't some hastily drawn thing. No, they took their time and they drew this entity or whatever you want to call it on this floor. They found some weird things. They found hooks from the ceiling, things that looked like, I don't know, maybe they were doing things there that were probably, whatever. She really was freaked out, and she said that night after night when they first moved in, they kept having problems. A water pipe burst. It wasn't wintertime. It was in the middle of spring. It was cold. She said it was like in the 50s, but it wasn't cold enough for like a frozen pipe to burst. And then she said it came out to like over $35,000 or just under $35,000 worth of damage that was done to the house after they put the initial 15 that they thought they were going to have to put into it, then another 20, because all kinds of stuff happened. In the backyard, they ended up having a nasty hornet's nest that was in the shed that they didn't notice when they first looked at the property, but apparently it was there and they didn't see it. And her husband got stung like 14 times, had to go to the hospital, nearly died. So she says all this crazy stuff was going on. So here it is a year now at this point when this happened, it was almost a year in to them living there. This was one of the most notable of the incidents that happened. And this isn't a haunted house story, so we're not going to linger on it too much. But they heard a talking, and her son-in-law was like, "Hey, what is that?" Or her son-in-law's friend. And they were like, they heard, and it sounded like people talking and then a muffled argument going on. This was on a Sunday afternoon, and she said, we were at the church in Minneapolis where we had been going for 20-something years. She goes, and I was helping them because they were having a bake sale. She goes, and so my son-in-law and his friend were helping with the packing and the shipping. Me and my daughters and my daughter's my other daughter's husband, we had all gone to the church. And so they were having a bake sale. And then that evening we were all going to meet back up at the church. She's like, we're devout Christian. And she said that it was unnerving, to say the least. When they hear this, they decide to split up and go walking around the house to see if they could hear something, because they were like convinced that somebody was in the house. When John, that's her son-in-law, goes up the stairs, he yells down to the others. And he says, there's something up here. And then he begins to freak out and yell. He says he yelled. They said he screamed. Same thing. But he probably went,
yeah, but yelling sounds more like manly.
It sounds more manly to say you yell, but to just say you scream, is basically conceding that you are a little B word, right? You're just like, I didn't scream like a B word. I screamed like a normal person, and I ran down. Okay, that's what I did.
I didn't scream, I yelled.
He yelled like a man, right? So he came running down the stairs, and then when he was freaked out, his friend decided to be Macho Man, and he decides to go upstairs and doesn't see anything. But admittedly, he felt a cold spot, and his wife, this is his son, I think his name is Dustin, his best friend. That's his son-in-law's best friend or whatever. He goes up the stairs. He goes, and I feel a cold spot and felt like something grabbed my shirt as I was walking out of one of the bedrooms. So he says, this is weird. I feel like something literally is pulling me. He goes, and then I got scared. All the hair standing up on my body. And so I decided to run. He goes, I just needed the exercise. I wasn't scared. I just needed to work out. I hadn't worked out in a while. It's been like days. I was on a strict regimen at that time. Right? I just needed to exercise. My legs were a little stiff. But anyway, he runs down the stairs. He runs out of there, and he comes back down, and he tells him what happened to him. The son-in-law, Johnny, he could not catch his breath. And her husband, okay, he was like, this is weird. Like, okay, so Teresa's husband, I'm not going to say his name, but anyway, he was like, what did you see? And when Johnny told him what he saw, he says, okay. He hadn't seen anything like that. It's been almost a year. He had heard noises. He had heard footsteps. The footsteps that he heard had been sounding like what this guy, it made sense when he told him what he thought it looked like and what he had seen. The footsteps sounded like hooves. Now, her husband, Teresa's husband, who's in his early 60s now, he was like, I had been around these hooved animals before. Had never heard one in a house, but on the hardwood floor, I could think maybe this would probably be what it would sound like. He said that it was like heavy footfall. The first time he heard it, it was 2 weeks into their stay, and they were having all kinds of problems with this house, right? And he said he heard ba-boom, and he was like, "Great." Something else just happened in the house and probably broke, and who knows what else is gonna happen. And he's pissed off, and he's like, "Great, something else just snapped." So he tells Teresa, "Lovely." He goes, "Well, I ain't got nobody myself to blame. There was another house she wanted, which was actually, more expensive, but we should have bought it." And he goes, "In this house, it's a money pit." And he's like, "And I'm aggravated." He goes, "So I get up and I go and I hear it, and I hear it downstairs. I go down the stairs, hardwood floors, right? And he could hear it, boom, 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 something moving. And it sounded almost like a bowling ball when it first fell. But then when he got down the stairs, this is Teresa's husband, right? This is like 2 weeks into their stay. He says it was like one foot after another, ba boom, ba boom, ba boom. And it sounded like a horse or something would be walking on the hardwood floor. He gets around the corner and he looks and he turns the light on. And he admitted, he said, when I was fumbling for the light, I felt like something was just moving up and down my spine. He goes, when I look to the right, there's like this mirror there. I can see something in the mirror, but it was like briefly and it moved. At that point, I thought, okay, yeah, something is in this house. And it's not, I don't believe it's an intruder. He's like, it was big, large, black. And he goes, I couldn't tell for sure, but I thought it had horns, but I just thought maybe I'm seeing things. He's like, I have not had this kind of stuff happen to me. It wasn't something that he was predisposed to. So he runs back up the stairs. Well, he didn't run, but he goes back up the stairs and he tells his wife, he's like, I don't know what that was. And that was that. We left it at that. But then it happened about 2 to 3 nights a week for about 6 months. He got really tired of it, hearing something moving around in their house. They didn't know about the little hidden room at that time, right? So that was an issue. They didn't know about it. When they were in the garage, his son-in-law was like, let's go check it out. They go upstairs. He sees, and he tells him, he says, I saw a black, shaggy being about 7 foot tall, at least. He said, at least. He's like, I don't know, maybe taller. It had hooves. It had small, spirally horns that stuck straight up on its head. And he goes, and it looked like a goat-like creature. The mouth, he didn't see teeth because the mouth was closed, thank goodness. He's like, but it was staring into a mirror. And he says, I saw it. I don't think it saw me. He runs back downstairs. Then his friend is like, what did you see? He couldn't talk. He could talk, but he couldn't tell him what he saw. His friend goes back up the stairs. It's like, oh, I don't see anything. Goes into the room, which is one of the spare bedrooms, and something grabs his shirt. Then he comes back down and he's like, hey, something grabbed me. At that point, when they leave the house, they take a break, they decide they didn't leave the house, they walked outside and they went to the back, they sat on the deck, and they were just sitting there kind of shaken up and they were talking about it. That's when the husband of Teresa, says, okay, there's something here because I've been hearing this noise for a long time. And there's a lot more to this, but like I said, this is a potluck, so we're just going to do this one, and then we're going to go on to the next one. What Teresa saw after they opened up that room, which is where they thought they heard the arguing and yelling and whatever going on, she said the next night after we opened up that room with my brother-in-law, she said that, and she saw what they saw. They called the preacher, right? They talked to the neighbors. The neighbors said that there was a young couple that had lived there when they first moved in. It was years and years ago. They were in their 20s, very just normal people. They had 2 kids. And then they moved away when they were in their early 40s. Then it sat vacant for a while. Another group of people moved in. They were there for about 2 to 3 years. They were very secretive. They didn't go out and they didn't interact with people. It was a husband and wife. For the time, at the time, it wasn't real popular. They were an interracial couple, and it wasn't like very common to see that at that time in that particular neighborhood. So people thought, oh, they're an interracial couple, whatever. And so they thought maybe they just kept to themselves because they thought people would think bad of them or something. They stayed there for a few years, I guess, and then they moved out. And then there was like after them, it was like a revolving door. After that particular couple, it was like somebody would move in, then they'd move out, then they'd move in, then they'd move out, and it just went on and on and on. Move in, move out. That we don't know at that point. Now, the first couple that had lived there for years and years and years, this was their neighbors who were older than them. Even they were in their 70s. They said, "Yeah, we knew the original people that when this first area was first built. There was a new build at that time. They were in their 20s, and so were we. And they moved out, in their late 30s. They stayed there for like 15, 16 years. And then the next couple came and they were there for a few years. And then after that, it was a revolving door. The second couple that lived there, they had no children and they kept very weird hours, according to these people, and they did not talk to their neighbors at all. So they didn't really get to know them. They tried to talk to them a couple times, and the husband was just very like, yeah, stonewall, didn't want to talk to him. It could be because he felt self-conscious. I don't know. I have no idea. Nobody does. But whoever was there, they walled off a small section of a weird room, closed it off with no doors for whatever reason. And at one point, it obviously was used for something nefarious because there was a giant pentagram on the floor. And then when they remodeled the bathroom, which had all of the claw marks and all the weird stuff or whatever, they found pentagrams that had been painted over on the insides of the cabinets. This prompted them to check other parts of the house, and they found that their house was inundated with satanic symbolism. Some symbols that they didn't even know what they were. They didn't even recognize. But when they started to tell me about it, because they painted over most of it, they didn't take a bunch of pictures. Of course, these people, they're not necessarily from the younger generation that takes pictures of everything up to and including their food that they eat. And then when they poop it out, they go and they take a picture. Not even joking. Some people's entire lives is on film. Mine's not, but some people choose to do that. And I'm not even joking. People will literally do that. So they didn't take a bunch of pictures, but she began to describe a couple of these symbols. And I'm thinking, there was one particular, I don't know, maybe one particular temple, starts with an S. I don't know. Because that's some of the symbols that when they began to describe it, I thought that's probably what that is. But I can say this. The incident that happened that really freaked her out, Teresa, very badly. She says, I was in the garage and I was looking for Christmas decorations, and it was right before Thanksgiving. I wanted to have the tree up and have it set up. We were going to have Christmas at our house. Our kids were all coming into town. She's like, we have 3 kids, and we have grandkids, so they're going to come and everything, whatever. She's like, so I'm out in the garage trying to dig around for Christmas decorations. She's like, and then I hear like, I thought about doing this episode. Remember I was talking about Krampus because, it's around Christmas time, sort of. Well, it was Thanksgiving, but, and it's around that time of year, and it is a weird entity. But I thought better of it. And I said, I'm just going to like save it for a potluck. And it is a goat man, probably. She says, I hear like a box get knocked over and have these big plastic tubs. We have them too. A lot of people have those. They'll put their decorations in there. We lost ours. We had to start over. We don't know what happened to them. But she said that she heard it. She looks over and she sees part of the garage is darked out. And she noticed that the light that should have been, working wasn't penetrating that corner of the garage. And she thought, she's like, I'm literally standing there holding like garland in my hands, going like,
Because a part of it cloaked in shadow.
yeah. She's like, why is that the dark part? Like, why is that not?
Why is it not illuminated?
It's not being lit up by the light. It's not illuminated. Yeah, that's a weird thing. She says, then I decide that, this is a little too weird for me, and I'm getting very scared. She's like, so I decided to walk toward the door and just go, you know what, the heck with this. I'll just wait until my husband comes back from the shop, and then he can help me do this. And she says that as she is starting to walk back toward the door, something comes out of the darkness. She's like, at first it was just like a blob, like a tall oblong blob is what she called it. And it came out and it just stood there. And she's like, and I'm staring at it and I'm looking at it and I'm observing it. And I'm like, what is that? And she's like, and then it began to take shape. I could see arms coming off of it. Very big, large chest, shoulders, everything began to come into focus. And then I see it moving independently. It's not on the wall. It is not a shadow, but it's black, completely black, like inky black. She's like, and the light was not, it was like it was absorbing the light. It wasn't penetrating it at all. And she's like, and so I ran for the door, and then this thing ran and it moved out in front of me, turned. She's like, and it's right in front of the door. She goes, and it is a horned being, not unlike a goat type creature with a goat head, not a satyr. And the way she described it, and she didn't know anything about satyr or not satyr, a satyr being a creature that actually looks like a human with goat-like horns, right? And the lower body of a goat, upper body of a man. This thing did not look like that. It had the goat head, and it looked like, she goes, but it was all black. I couldn't see any features at all. But there were two white dots where the eyes were. Where the eyes would have been. And she's like, you know how goats, their eyes are sort of on the side of their head?
Yeah.
She's like, these were in the front. You could see it was clearly not, it was not a goat. Obviously. It had predator-like eyes, not, hold on one second. Yeah, not prey. So she tells me, she's like, I was frozen in fear. And then this thing backed up into, the house. And I'm standing there and I'm in front of the garage door. And I'm like, okay, now I am terrified because whatever this thing is, it just backed up into my house. So now I'm going to have to, I don't know, stand here and then walk in to the house where it's at. She's like, so I walked over and I opened the garage door. She's like, the garage door begins to open, and I'm like, this thing cannot open fast enough. She's like, I am sitting there panicking at this point. She's like, and I'm like, why is this garage door taking so long to open? She's like, I didn't wait for it to get all the way to the top. Yeah, halfway through, and I ran out of the garage and into the driveway. She's like, and then I realized I don't have the keys to the vehicle. I'm just standing out here by our vehicle. I don't even have a way to get into the vehicle. She's like, so I got to go into the house. She's like, so I call my one child she lives about 30 miles away. And she calls her and she says, hey, can you come to the house? Are you busy? She says, I was just making the kids some lunch or whatever. It's right before Thanksgiving, right? And she says, and I'm going to see you in a couple of days. She goes, no, I need you to come, please. I'm terrified. And her daughter's like, oh, okay. So she says, well, Mom, you have to give me about an hour. She says, I don't care. I'll be sitting on the curb. She goes, and so we had a swing set that we were putting together, me and my husband, to put out in front of the house. She's like, it was cold too. She goes, it wasn't like freezing cold, but she goes, it was cold. It was like, in the high 40s, low 50s. She goes, I had a jacket on. So I just went and I pulled that swing. She goes, I can't even believe. She's like, I'm 5'4". I'm not even a very big person. She's like, and I pulled that swing out and I just sat there. And I was like, just away from the house, terrified. She said, eventually my daughter shows up. her daughter gets this crazy, like terrified look on her face when she pulls up. Her daughter's like, like, the way she described it was, she goes, my daughter looked petrified. But I don't know, how do you look petrified? Petrified, you're like, you're frozen in corbin. I don't know. I mean, I'm not making light of it. I'm just trying to figure out how that looks. I just can imagine a person. I'm imagining in my mind somebody pulling up and going, what the crap is that? She said, my daughter's eyes got big. She's like, she didn't want to get out of the car. She went like this to me. I go over to the car. She goes, I'm terrified. She goes, get in, get in. Her 2 daughters are in the back. She's got two daughters, this particular child. She's like, I get in the passenger seat. And I'm like, what is going on? She's like, my daughter couldn't talk. She was trying to talk. And it was just like, she's like, Mom, there is something that was just looking at us from the upstairs window. And she tells her daughter, she says, what did it look like? She didn't want to turn around. She didn't want to look. I think she said her daughter's name was Cassidy. She said Cassidy was like, there is something upstairs staring at me. She's like, and the daughters, the little kids, they were sleeping. It was their nap time, right? So they ate their lunch and they were sleepy. So they were in the back asleep. She's like, quiet. She's like, Mom, I saw something up there and it looked evil. It looked like a demon. It was black and it had horns. And she says, oh my gosh. She says, okay, I just saw the shadow of something. She goes, this would look like a shadow. She goes, I could make out features. It looked horse head-like. And then when they started talking, she was, but horn, okay, goat-like, Yeah. And she goes, so we just sat there in her car and then we started crying because we didn't know what to do. So my daughter, she's like, this particular daughter is my middle child. She's the one that's always like down for whatever, She gets out of the car and she calls the husband and says, get your butt home now. Calls the dad. And she goes, and my dad, and my husband, her dad, he's like, he knows that she means business. Like, get home. Mom needs your help. So he comes home. He tries to convince her, everything's fine, don't worry, blah, blah, blah. This was right before the thing happened to him, when him and his son-in-law and his son-in-law's best friend came over to help him pack up stuff and ship it off. This was before that, right? Like a couple months or whatever. This was like in the spring later on. He, at that point, was still like, okay, people have seen this, but I haven't seen it. So it's kind of like one of those things where you just put it it's out of sight, out of mind. Mm-hmm. Well, there's got to be a logical explanation for this. And she says, I was so mad. She goes, my husband made me so mad because he heard this thing, she heard it. It sounded like hooves on the hardwood floor. And I talked to him when he said, I said, dude, didn't you say you? She said, yeah, I did, but I didn't think it was real. Like, I don't know what it was. He goes, and I can't, and he's right about this. And he says, I can't live my life terrified and thinking, well, I can't do this or that because the goat man's going to come get me. Like he's right.
Yeah. He's
like, I got to do my job. I got to be a man. I got to function. I can't let this terrify me. So they had a priest, or not a priest, a preacher come over from their church, and another one that the neighbors had recommended. And those people together, they all came together and they prayed and they went room to room. And she said it didn't stop completely, but it did slow the activity way down to where since then, they've lived in that house for 7 years now. That first year was the main, like all of the activity. Mm-hmm. She's like, it's like slowly dissipated. She goes, there hasn't been anything going on 3 years. So she says every day, she says that, and thank goodness somebody told her about pleading the blood of Jesus and how to protect her family. Unfortunately, one of her cats did pass away in a very unusual manner. It's pretty, this speaks to the malevolence of these beings. But they found the cat disappeared, and then they smelled something, and they found it up in the attic. So they believe that maybe the cat there's no way for the cat to have gone up there on its own. That maybe this entity or something evil did something to the cat. Now, she asked me if I thought that was a possibility or a probability. I said, yeah, both.
Yeah, they can hurt you.
Because they will do things. One other thing, too, before we run on this story. One of her daughters was there because this daughter lives in Milwaukee, or outside of Milwaukee in the suburbs in Wisconsin. Her husband's got a good job there, and they're actually he does some work in the media, so they're kind of known. But so he came and he had to go back to work after a couple of days. It was right around Christmas vacation a few years ago, and this was one of the last things that had happened to anybody. Something grabbed her daughter in the shower and held her up against the wall. And she screamed and screamed and screamed. And what was crazy was she was using our bathroom, and me and my husband were in the next room just watching TV quietly. We didn't hear anything.
Jeez.
So it speaks to this pocket reality, that her husband had claimed that in the bedroom that they were staying in, he had seen something move in the mirror. I mean, not the mirror, in the I guess the mirror, but you know how the TV is basically a black mirror.
Yeah.
He saw something move in the TV when the TV was off. And he told them, he said, I saw something that looked demonic. It looked, So that's her story. The shadow that she encountered, luckily for her, it didn't grab her. It didn't do anything to her like it did to her oldest daughter. Or I'm sorry, that would be her youngest daughter. And then, of course, her middle daughter saw it. And her youngest daughter's husband saw it. And, the oldest daughters, they have 3 daughters. The oldest daughter's husband, Dustin, he saw it too. And when he went upstairs, and his friend had the weird thing that happened to him. So when I talked to her husband, he was just like, yeah, it's not one of those things you want to believe in.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, I get it. But here's the crazy thing. When all of this was going on, he went to a hunting lodge in Michigan, right, in the Upper Peninsula, which is pretty desolate. And he was up there hunting, and he had a crazy encounter with what may or may not have been the same entity. And that was about 3 years into their stay at this house. He believes, this is his opinion, differs from his wife, that he found something that was in his gear. He doesn't know how it ended up in there. He didn't put it in there. But it was something, right? And then he threw it into a lake. And from that point, the haunting, if you want to call it that, dissipated. Like it slowly got weaker and eventually ended. And nothing has happened in 3 years. Praise God. He said he did a lot of prayer, and he said that it was almost like divine intervention, that thing was in his backpack. What happened to him at the hunting lodge was terrifying, but that's a story for another day. And we'll probably do that one on the members only. So next week we'll be on that along with the Patreon. So if you want to join us for that. And the Patreon, like I said, we're going to talk about these 2 sisters. Well, let's get into their encounter. But before we do, does anybody have any questions or want to say anything? Do you have anything?
Zara is asking, what was it that he found?
I don't know, Zara. You may have to join the members only.
Yeah, Zara.
Yeah, Zara. Then when I'll tell the rest of the story on there.
But she's a member.
Yeah, she's a member.
Patreon member.
Well, then you'll get to hear it. All right. But we're not going to do it now, Zara, because there's a lot of people that aren't members that don't deserve it. They do not. Especially Dick Richards. I see Dick Richards with, I'm not a crook. But let me ask you this. What the hell do you think was going on? I mean.
Well, something was definitely they never found out who the previous tenants were that initially started all this crap, because it never I mean, I don't know, but they don't really know the history of the house, so like, so there's really no way to say like how it started. I mean, like, did the wrong people move in there and then mess it all up, or was it always just like that? And just I don't know, like attracted the wrong people who were kind of susceptible to it, you know?
Yeah, and the thing is, like, I'm not saying that I'm like the most qualified person because I've lived in a couple of houses that were haunted. We literally, the house we used to live at, and I don't give a crap. I'll say it right now. It was over there at Canyon Creek. We don't live there anymore, so I don't give a damn.
Yeah.
But yeah, that house, we call it the haunted house.
Hmm.
We call it the haunted house for a reason. I mean, we had multiple friends of ours come over there and get headaches and feel weird, and I mean,
Yeah.
there was a lot of weird stuff in that house, and we all saw a lot of weird things in that house. But the house that I lived in down in South Austin, of course, a lot more stuff happened there. But I think it was just because of the longevity of how long I lived there. 10 years, a lot happens in 10 years.
Hmm.
So there's my brother right there. He's writing the book about it, Mr. King Dibbles. And one of the things that he talked about, he said, dude, every time I'm thinking, well, we can wrap this up, there's more stuff that we talk about. Because there was so much stuff that happened, not just us, but people that would, stay there. And so I'm not saying like I'm an authority on this, but I can tell you, having lived in a house that had a lot of, what are even the words, intrusiveness from spirits? Would that, what would you call, I don't know, just stuff that, I mean, let's put it this way. Stuff that, invasiveness from spirits that are not invited. You did not want them there, This to me, though, I think in the house that we did live in, the people that were there before, I don't know if it was the people immediately, but maybe, but somebody did something and invited something in that house.
Yeah.
I don't know that happened in the haunted house down in South Austin. And say haunted house sounds like some spooky Halloween crap or something,
The afflicted house.
Yeah. But I think that their house was haunted, these people from Minnesota. I think it was that one particular entity that probably was summoned during some kind of ritual or something,
Yeah, what was that hidden room? Like that's disturbing.
I don't know.
It's like a secret little that blacked out closet at the Black Swan Inn with the mirror.
I might not have gone into that part. I don't remember. Where was that at? Toward the front of the house?
No, like you go into the front, and then if you go to the right, there's a dining room, and inside that dining room, there's this small little closet, and like the walls are painted black, and they have like a small little nightstand on it. And
I think I saw that on that show. Remember that show? People kept laughing. That was the most horrible investigation.
Yeah, it was obnoxious, but
they
like
were obnoxious.
While we were there, people were going in there and like
into that closet.
Yeah, yeah.
And then the spot above the girl's bedroom.
Yeah,
the girl's bedroom up there. They said there was a demon up there, and they're all like, "Oh, not talking crap here, but some ghost hunters, not all, but some of them." They do things that make you go, what in the hell what are you smoking?
Yeah.
But then again, cryptid hunters do it too. They're like, well, there's definitely habitation. Let me crawl up in there and see if I can sniff Bigfoot here. You're like, why are you doing that?
Yeah, it's like you're not even really, you're not really looking for it as much as you're like trying to provoke something bad.
Yeah, I mean, when you stop and you look at some of these people and the things they do, I don't care. And then there was that one guy, he was so dumb, when we were there, he was like, well, it's going to be more afraid of me than I am of it. Because, no, it's not. I promise you, it's not. And I could tell by the way he was dressed, and I could tell by his mannerisms, and he's not going to ask for Christ's help because, hey, man, he can, he'll elbow drop it.
He can use that Krav Maga on it.
Yeah, the claw.
Yeah.
He's going to use the claw.
Yeah. The defense of the chosen people. You know, nothing can stand against the Krav Maga.
I was like, dude, this guy obviously is going to be in big, big trouble. And the lady that ran the place, I mean, she was pretty honest about it too. Like, stuff follows people home, and she's not responsible for whatever you do and whatever happens to you there. And I was like, I walked in, and I remember Ann was in there, and like everybody, just you. I think you and her stayed in there.
Yeah.
And I walked back out. That's Ann Celine.
Yeah.
And I walked back out. I was like, oh, okay, I'm good. I felt like pressure, throat, neck, chest, face felt hot. I was like, dude, this is a spiritual oppression on a very heavy scale. It is infested there. There is a ball of this there. So, you know, some of these people that go into these places and they don't know what they're getting into. And so, you know, I think that whenever I encounter people who live in a house and they have this kind of activity, I try to tell them all the time that they have to plead the blood of Jesus, and they need to do it not just for them and their house, but their pets, because their cat ended up being, you know, deceased. And they love to attack animals because a lot of times, you know why, too?
Go after what you love.
Well, because that too, but because you leave and you leave them there.
Yeah.
And they're there by themselves. You don't know what their fur babies are going through, or your scale babies or whatever, or feathered babies. People have told me about lizards and you know, birds. And I'm not a fan of snakes. You know, I'm not a big fan of snakes, but this one lady's snake was killed horribly. Yeah, I'm not even going to repeat it on the show what they did to it. But and there was no here. They had a camera there too, but the camera shut off. Then it came back on, and the snake was, you know, had been unalived. This entity had done something horrible. I'll just say this: they didn't find the head to it. Yeah. So these things don't care. They don't care. And I've heard of people's birds being killed and you know, people's fish. And they got a story is weird too. And I haven't told you about this one. I'll tell you after the show, but we'll talk about it eventually. But there was a person that messaged me and they asked me a question. They're like, can a fish be evil? Like from their aquarium. And I'll tell you the story. I will tell that story, folks. It is very fascinating. And I told him, I don't know. It kind of reminds me of the South Park where the fish was like,
oh yeah, the goldfish. It was getting
goldfish,
closer
he's
and
like,
closer.
Because the fish, she's like, what happened? And the fish was actually murdering people, and she thought it was Stan. So she kept burying the people, you know. And when I started kind of talking about it, he was like, I know what you're saying. I was like, no, I'm not saying that's what you're talking about. I'm not saying that's what you're talking about. I just said that part, that was funny because, but I did tell him though that I had a fish that was an evil bastard, but it wasn't the way his fish was. I think his fish was truly evil because of what him and his girlfriend and his girlfriend's friend encountered with this fish. I mean, yeah, if I had to say, yeah, animals can be possessed and an animal can act normal, then all of a sudden something happens. Well, you plead the blood of Jesus over it. It's not hard. I plead the blood of Jesus over myself, my family, my wife, my children, my pets, my brothers, my sisters, my parents, mom, dad. I plead the blood of Jesus over all the living things in my house that are of godly nature, things that are good, things that are made, not these evil entities, because they're there, right? I plead the blood of Jesus over all my animals and name them all. And if you can, take them and hold them. And this is going to sound even really weird. You're going to think of some kind of weird ding-dong here, but my wife does this. Talk to the animals about the gospel of Christ.
Yeah, it says in the scripture
to
preach
all
the word to
living
all
things.
living things.
So you preach the word of Christ, and this is where it comes into play with these evil spirits. You can preach the gospel. I wouldn't sit there and be an audience, but you could preach the gospel to these evil entities. They're going to leave because they don't want to hear it. But if you've noticed, there are people that will do the same. You'll talk to them about Christ and what they need to do, and they'll just be like, and they're looking for the exit. They want to get the heck away from you. And it's not always because they're afflicted by an evil spirit. They're afflicted by evil, period. There are people need to get that through their thick heads. Not everything is done by the work of devils. There are people that are just flat out evil. There's no devil on them. They're just evil. The devils will come to them and use them as they're a conduit for it, but they're just freaking evil. They're born beyond redemption. And let me tell you something else. Having raised mastiffs, there was one dog in particular who was evil, in my opinion. I've told you about this, Anthony, and of course, my friends have told you about this story. It's not really a story, but my wife too. This thing was evil. There's no two ways about it, man. You know what? Give me 1 second. I got to deal with this work. Hold on.
Okay.
So, anyways, let's get into this other story. So, apparently, I met Kara, and I say apparently because I met a lot of people. That was actually a very good conference, and I was there with some really cool friends. Nick Redfern. I was there with Lyle Blackburn and Ken Gerhardt and Ryan Edwards. I think Bigfoot Michigan Rob was there. I'm pretty sure Tex was there when I met them face to face. So a lot of cool people were there at that particular conference. I enjoyed that conference, and it was actually a pretty good sized crowd. And so we hung out. We had a good time, and I met some really cool people. Kara was one of the people that was there. She lived not far outside of that particular town. She lived in another town. And at one point, actually, she lived in a town that my nephew, Zane, grew up not far from there. So we started talking, and she was telling me about that particular town. And I said, oh, yeah, that was Dangerfield. And my nephew, he grew up there for a while. And so she said that, yeah, and at one time her and her sister, they lived in Sulphur Springs, and then they lived in Tyler. So they were twins. I had never met Patricia. So I gave Kara my business card. That was years ago. That was like 4 years ago. And then next thing you know, I get a message from Patricia says, no BS, the message just said help. Okay. That's not the first time I've gotten a message. Somebody says, help me, just help me, whatever. How do you want me to help you? What do you need? So you can always pray with people. That's one thing you can do. There's different ways to help people. So that's what we did. But this is what she said. She says, me and my sister have always had a really strong bond. Now, this isn't a real drawn out long story. It'll probably round out the hour here, but it is her encounter. There were many. There were multiple things that had happened to them over the years involving Bigfoot, right? Which would explain why Kara was at the Bigfoot conference. But Patricia says, when we were kids, the things that happened to us, she goes, I blocked a lot of it out of my mind. This is what's really weird. Her and her sister both had twins. What are the odds, right? What are the odds that they had twins? The weird thing, though, is her and her sister are identical twins, but her sister had boy fraternal twins, and then she had male-female fraternal twins. So that's weird. So anyways, I thought that was, I'm talking about Patricia. She had a boy and a girl. They're twins, right? And they would be Irish twins from each other because her sister had hers. And then a year and 2 days later, Patricia had her twins. It was a boy and a girl. So that's a weird thing. That's not, I've heard of some stuff, that happens, and that's weird, right?
Got some powerful twin genetics going on.
Yeah. So you have some powerful genetics, some twin genetics going on. Yeah. So here's what happened. She says, I was asleep. She's like, I fell asleep reading a book. She's like, and me and my sister would talk every day. Sometimes we would lose track, maybe every other day, but we never went more than a couple of days without talking. She goes, and the phone rings, and I wake up, and it didn't register what had just happened. She's like, but I picked up the phone. She's like, and my sister's like, Patricia, she's like, you need to go outside. There is something outside and you need to go outside. She's like, grab a crucifix and go outside. Here's the weird thing. She's like, I don't own a crucifix. Now, you may be thinking, she's not a Christian. She is. She's a Christian. She's a God-fearing person. But she is a Protestant, Methodist, in fact. And she's like, and I don't own a crucifix. And she's like, crucifixes are particularly for what? Catholics, right? And Orthodox. They have crucifix. Not Protestants. They don't typically have crucifixes. They'll have a cross, but very rarely will you see them have a. Now, I am not a Catholic or an Orthodox per se, or a Protestant per se, whatever. I am just a follower of Christ, and I have St. Benedict crosses, crucifixes all over my house. And people come in my house, you may think that I'm Catholic, but I'm not. You may think that I am a Protestant, but I'm not. I am just a Christian. But I don't judge. You do what you got to do. As long as you do, like, plead the blood of Jesus, you say the sinner's prayer, I believe you're fine. But you got to keep doing. You got to keep praying every day. Every day, stay girded up. Here's what I believe. I believe that what happened to them was probably something that could, I think, would, or whatever happened to twins. I think it would happen to anybody who is that close, because me and my brother had a dream very similar. And I told her about that. I said, I had a dream that was very similar to that. And it was in the haunted house we lived in down in South Austin. See, and Anna says, I'm Baptist and I have crosses and crucifixes. That's kind of not the norm though. But you'll have crosses, but not necessarily Christ on the cross. It is typically a Catholic thing, but anyways, it doesn't matter. Some people nowadays have figured out that it doesn't really matter and that you should, not care about all the denominations and all that and just follow Christ. So here's what happened. She says, my sister tells me, she says, go outside and take the crucifix. She goes, I look around and there is a blue, white and blue crucifix, very beautiful. She's like, and it's right there. And I go, oh yeah, my sister gave me this, the year before at this white elephant we had. She's like, I grab the cross and I go outside. She goes, and I hold it up. And she says, my sister's on the phone with me. And she says, Patricia, say, in the name of Christ, I rebuke you. And she's like, what am I looking at? What am I rebuking? She says, the whole sky was dark, black, in fact. She goes, it was dark and it was midday. You could tell that the sun was supposed to be out, but it was very dim. And there were storm clouds everywhere. And the lightning, she said, oh, the lightning. She goes, there were streaks of red lightning, red. The lightning was red. She's like, it was so weird. She goes, I've never seen a storm like that in my life. She's like, and I'm holding this cross and I'm like, I rebuke you in the name of Christ. I am telling this, whatever this is. And I don't even know what it is. She goes, and then I see these weird hooves, weird skinny looking legs. She's like, and she's like, this is going to sound funny, but it looked almost like a frog with wings, but with a weird demonic like head. The head, she said, looked kind of wolf-like, but reptilian at the same time. Kind of like a seahorse is what she said. She said, and this thing with the spindly legs began to walk like it was trying to walk down a hill, like, kind of bent at an angle, slanted. She says, and then it curled up and then it opened its wings. She's like, and it shrieked really loud. She goes, and it was so loud. And I look around and all my neighbors who were outside when I first went outside, because we were about to have a tornado. And she says, and they all ran inside and nobody saw the creature up there. And I said, there's a creature up there on my roof. There is a demon on my roof. She goes, and I got so afraid, so scared. She's like, but my sister kept talking to me. And she's like, Patricia, don't be afraid. She's like, walk towards it and yell again. She said, when I did this thing began to screech even louder and then began to tear the shingles off of my roof and toss them down at me, almost hitting me, but not hitting me. She's like, then I realized that no matter how much it threw at me, it couldn't hit me. And she's like, and then I realized, like, something's not right here. This thing can't hurt me. She's like, and then she goes, I jumped as high as I could. And I got to where I was eye level with this thing's legs. And I began to scream in the name of Christ. And I looked down, she goes, and I was floating. I was not in my body. She's like, and then I realized I was not in my body. And then it was like, I got sucked back into the house And then I sat up in my recliner. I woke up and I was like, holy moly, what was that? She's like, I look around, there is no Blue Cross. I was never given a Blue Cross. And that was apparently some kind of dream. So she says, I am freaked out. So I call my sister. She's like, call my sister. My sister doesn't answer the phone. And so she's like, I have my grandson coming over in like 20 minutes. I look at the clock and I got to make some lunch for him, whatever. And her grandson's already an adult. And he was staying with me. And, and she goes, I love him dearly. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to make him lunch, whatever. Patricia has 2 kids. They're fraternal twins. She says, my sister, she lives like, 200 miles away down in Houston, whatever. She's like, I am completely floored about what just happened. My sister, she's living down in the border, down in North Texas. Finally, she calls me back while I'm cooking lunch. And she says, she calls me Hun. She says, Hun, you're not going to believe what just happened to me. She's like, I had a dream. Get this. She starts telling me verbatim my dream, but it was reversed. She said, I had a dream that you called me and you told me, go outside. There is something on the roof. She says, while she's talking to me, and this has happened to us multiple times, when I started finishing her sentence, I said, and then you said to rebuke it. She said, absolutely. She goes, and this is what it looked like. And she said, yes, it did. It did. And it looked like, but the house that they were describing, they described the same house. Mm-hmm. It was a house that they lived in when they were young near Sulphur Springs. And now we've talked about Sulphur Springs before. Like with the Dogman and there's a Dogman encounter that happened there. Weird stuff. She said that when they were kids, they were playing outside and there was a bad storm. And they remembered their dad was doing roof work on the neighbor's roof. And he was doing shingles, helping them, whatever. And then the storm just blew in. And their dad nearly got knocked off of the roof by the wind. The house that they were seeing wasn't their house when they were kids. It was the house, the neighbor's house that their dad was on. According to them, their dad was a good guy, but he was also an alcoholic. And it was like a switch. He could be a good guy. But on a whim, if he drank, he became the devil.
Mr. Hyde.
Mr. Hyde, yeah, Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. And she said that it was like night and day. And she said that when this happened, this incident, whatever, her dad had told them that he thought he saw something weird sitting up in a tree. When they asked him what it was, he said he thought it was a giant bat-like creature. And he never expounded upon what it was. But they believe that for whatever reason, they had a simultaneous dream. And she goes, I go outside. It's sunny outside. There was no storm. Same thing with my sister. I said, was there a storm? Her sister said, yeah, it's sunny outside, whatever. But the day before, there had been a really bad storm there in Broken Bow, Oklahoma. Not where she was at. And her sister had called her and said, hey, we're in for a real bad storm. The next few hours, there was no contact. She was worried about her. Then they talked, and she says, I'm fine. They did some damage, whatever. She's like, so I thought maybe after she told me about this, I had a weird dream about a storm. It was in my mind. But I don't believe that's what happened. I believe that these women have a psychic connection as twins. She said, what's even weirder is, she goes, my one son, she's like, this is not Patricia, this is her sister. She said, my son has a connection with her son. Not the daughter, though. The daughter doesn't really have a connection with the other 2 twins. Mm-hmm. So the one sister has the 2 twins, right? Kara. So Kara, her 2 boys, have a really strong connection with her son. And I didn't ask to say his name, whatever. It starts with an M, but I mean, so I don't want to overstep. But him has a connection with those 2 boys. They'll have the same thing. Like they'll have dreams, and then they'll get together and they'll compare notes.
Yeah, like synchronized dreams.
Yeah, she goes, but my daughter, she goes, she could not be more different than all of us. She's very like closed off to this. She doesn't. She's just like, okay, if you say so. Doesn't have any kind of weird. She goes, we lived in a house at one point. This was Patricia said that her daughter didn't have any kind of, didn't see anything, didn't hear anything. Everybody else in the house was seeing things, and it was weird. And she has a young, Patricia has a younger son too, and but he lives in Dallas. He's an electrician, and Kara just has the two kids, the two boys. But what's crazy though is that those two boys have a strong connection with him, which is one of the fraternal twins. So that's weird. That is a weird thing. Yeah, and I hope I got that right. I do believe they are fraternal twins. I think it was them too. But they have a whole bunch of stuff that's happened to them, and so we're going to get into some of their encounters. I'm going to tell you some weird stuff that happened to them when they were young. They did have a Bigfoot type encounter, more than one occasion when they were children near Tyler. Of course, Tyler, we know, is a huge Bigfoot hotspot.
Yeah.
Not Taylor. Tyler.
No, not Tyler.
Taylor is
Central Texas. Tyler is like
North
northeast.
Texas, and Taylor is where people have seen Dogman quite a bit. But but that's what happened with them, and I think that's crazy. That happened.
Yeah.
That they see this weird creature, and they both saw it in a dream, and that both of them were telling the other person to go outside, and there was this blue crucifix. Here's another thing to that. The daughter, although she doesn't have any of that affinity towards that, she was in a Christian bookstore in Abilene, Texas, and she found a blue crucifix, and she sent a picture of it from her phone. This was last year. She sent a picture of it to her mother, to Patricia, and she said, "That's the cross. Absolutely what I saw." When she takes the picture and forwards it to her sister, Kara said the same thing. She said, that's the cross that we saw. So that makes Kara's niece / Patricia's daughter kind of uneasy because she felt moved to take a picture of this and send it to them.
Yeah.
That's weird, right? So the world is a weird place. I mean, I had, Christmas time, I was with all my cousins and we were on 2 different ranches, and we were out there doing whatever, and we were supposed to go for New Year's Day to my other cousin's ranch, and we couldn't go. We had too much going on. But we Christmas and New Year's and all that stuff, we always have a bunch of places to go. And I have always these relatives that'll ask me like, "You really believe in all that?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I believe in it." And one of my cousin's husband was questioning me about it and telling me, he's like, and I think that his thing was like, he's like, I believe in it, but I don't want to.
Yeah.
He said, it scares me. And he asked me how I can talk to all these people and not be afraid. And I was actually showing him a couple of the stories that had been sent to me through the email and the messenger. And I said, check this out, of course I asked permission. I said, is this okay? Because I'm going to tell their encounter anyway. And, he looked at it and was just like, wow, dude, that's crazy. I'm trying to remember. There was one in particular. If I can find it quickly, I'll it was a Goatman story. But that person, oh man, there's been so many since then. They sent me a story. Yeah, here it is. I found it. I'm not going to say the guy's name, but what he messaged me was, this is one of them that I showed my cousin's husband. The guy says, a while back you had some people from Nebraska. If possible, could you maybe ask them a couple questions when they had these experiences? Were they seeing something or someone several times before this experience, like maybe a cat, someone who looks familiar, car, etc.? Then he goes on to say the experiences, and shortly after they had their experiences, this goat man has been seen, had some experiences with, and then he starts talking about the Freemasons and the things this goat man told me. This goat man was telling this guy some stuff. So that's weird. I mean, that is really bizarre. And this happened up in Colorado, which is interesting because, and I can say this because now he's on the show on Monster Quest, and they helped them get their. I didn't say the name of it until it was time, but it aired the other day. I didn't see it. But I helped them with a lot of different witnesses. And Gil Sanchez, he was up in Colorado when he had his goat man experience.
Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting. This person here sends me that the day before Christmas Eve, I believe, is when this one. I think that's what it was. But I'm going to be interviewing this guy. It's really crazy when you stop and you look at these the sheer number of encounters that people have with this goat man like entity, dude. Like, we have done so many shows on this thing. We did one, of course, with this guy that I don't just waste my time dealing with certain people, but we called it Goat Man Origins, I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
And we put some really good encounters, not good for the people that happen to, but, for the listener, some really crazy encounters into that episode. And unfortunately, you live and learn. You waste your time with people who they're not passionate about it like you are. This is some kind of, I don't know what the hell this is to them. I mean, it's not what it is to me. What it is to me is trying to figure it out and get to the bottom of it. And I love talking about this stuff and interviewing people. I love just the whole thing. But some of these people, they don't care. It's just a big joke to them, dude. And be careful for those people because they're out there just scamming and being stupid, But thank you to everybody who donated. Thank you to everybody who showed up tonight. We really enjoyed the show. Thank you. I enjoyed talking and doing what I do. And Maddie, are you telling Dick Richards to come to Texas again? And he's still just up there. Let's face it. Dick Richards likes being under the boot heel of communism. He's going to stay where he's at because he enjoys being a communist. Right? That's what Richards is. He's resigned himself to the frozen north of communism. He's in an open air gulag up there in Canada. Okay. So that's what he's going to do. He's going to be there. So, quit bugging him. If he wants to live like that, let him live like that. To me, it's live free or die. But some people they don't like having freedom. Case in point, the people that have been protesting vehemently to free Maduro. Have you seen this? They really want every Venezuelan, and we know a lot because there are two complexes we do security at, and they're full of Venezuelans. And I'd say 90% of them are pretty cool. Yeah. You got like a little small percentage of them at each complex that are troublemakers.
They're typically pretty understanding because they come from a place where you have no freedom.
They understand rules. Yeah. But they're all excited, dude. When Maduro was caught, we were on our patrol, and they were going crazy. And I drove up, and it was this big pachanga, big party. And I said, "What's going on?" I kind of already had an idea. They were waving Venezuelan flag. They're like, Maduro, he's gone. I was like, wow. And I stopped a couple of. We should have videoed it.
Yeah.
I stopped a couple of them, and I was like, "Aren't y'all so upset because they took your president?" They're like, "Hell no." I said, I know, I'm just messing around because not one of them was crying for Maduro to go back and enslave them again. Not one of them. And we probably ran into 50, 60 of them.
Yeah.
And people will say, well, that's your experience with them. All of my Venezuelan friend, he had this to say. He's like, I want Maduro to come back. I like him so much. He was good. He was great. It's all good and stuff. And you're like, wow. Yeah. All of your Venezuelan friend had that to say, huh? Really? Because the 9,000 others that we met are very happy that this guy was kidnapped. People love to throw that word around. Kidnap. They kidnapped him. They kidnapped him. Okay. Our nation. Yeah. This is part of the retardation nation. Everybody is been a kidnap. Okay, anything you don't like, they kidnap. You leave your dog with vet kidnap dog. It's a bad thing. Mostly kidnap. I don't think these people understand what that word means.
Mm-mm.
There's a lot of words people use they don't understand, I think. But yeah, I don't think that's what happened. And in fact, it was an open invitation. Like he said, come and get me, coward.
Yeah.
And now you got the guy from Cuba who's over there.
He thought it was a joke.
Who looks like Dracula dead and loving it. And, you know, he looks like a Hispanic Leslie Nielsen. I really think you need to come and kidnap me, too. And then you have the guy over there shooting his mouth off, the other one in Colombia. Why don't you do yourself a favor and shut up before your next pendejo? How about that? But anyways, that's my opinion on that, and I hope it pisses off everybody that's on that side because I don't care about you. You're a very small minority of my audience. You don't like me, and you know I don't like you.
I don't care what happens to communists.
So I don't give a crap about communists, right? No crying for communists. No llores, right? No llores for commies. Right? No crying for commies. I'm not going to cry for you. Right? Are we crying?
I'm devastated.
You know, you see the tears coming out for the commies? They're like, Maduro. They're like, those are just those teardrop tattoos.
Yeah.
They want him to come back, you know, because they work for him, torturing people. Anyways, I could just say this. You know, there's a lot of people who want to say that it's all part of this globalist whatever agenda and it's for oil. I'm going to tell you this. Most of the people from Venezuela would gladly give you their oil for their freedom so they don't have to resort to cannibalism and whatever else was going on down there.
Can't eat oil.
There's a lot of people. We had a waiter and waitress the other day.
Mm-hmm.
They were just telling us right before he got taken. It's bad. It was really, things were really bad. Okay. So anyways, folks, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for the donations. Thank you for making PRT what it is. We will be back tomorrow night. We're going to be with Blondes and Booze. And apparently there's more blondes now, right? The last time I was on the show, which has been a long time, there were only 2 blondes. Now there's 2 more. And don't ask me to name their names because I'm not real sure, but I guess we're going to find out tomorrow. I think one of them's name is Natalie. I don't know the other one. I apologize. I don't really keep up with everybody. But tomorrow night we're gonna be there at 8:00 on Blondes and Booze. So be sure and tune in. Be sure and tune in tomorrow night. And then Friday we're gonna release the episode with Sean.
Yeah.
Right. And then we got to record with him. And then Saturday we're gonna be doing a show for the Patreon. So be ready for that. And then next week we're going to try and do a Patreon and we're going to do a, what do you call it? Members only. Yeah. So join the members only. It's $5. I see Ona Holly is not a member. Shame. I wish I had my bell so I could just ring it. Ona's like, you turd.
Shame.
We love you, and I'm just messing around. No, seriously, but join $5 or whatever, and then join the Patreon. Now, I got a surprise for you coming up on the Patreon show. I got to reveal the new shirts are going to be coming out. We have the templates ready to go. They're going to be a black. We're trying to get them done with black and gold lettering, and you're only going to get those through the Patreon. There is no giveaways on those. No other way to get those shirts except for through the Patreon. So, yes. Thank you to everybody. We love you and good night.
I don't remember. It was something coming through the door. The whispered tears, yours or mine, but pain it will only find wounds and wisdom Slow motion death, a caravan of ghost stars falling as we watch the moon fade. Bones and wisdom, body and soul, a lifetime journey into the unknown, a broken crown. I feel the river water washing me, all the beautiful things can't be free. In the distance I see the sun clinging to the last day. Wounds and wisdom, body and soul, a lifetime journey into the unknown, a broken crown. No pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. It was a beautiful war of flesh and bone against spirit and consciousness. The eternal you of memories in motion, to live once more and to die once more. Wounds and